to everyone joining us today. Thank you for being here. Welcome. As Director of Content Licensing here at Infobase, I'm responsible for managing our video streaming platform for academic markets, which you know is Films on Demand. I have over 15 years of experience in acquiring and licensing content for education markets, first at an academic book publisher, and then for the last 6 years, specializing in video at Infobase. Before I start off with the presentation, I am going to turn my camera off so that you have the full slide experience without any distractions. So let's start with our agenda. I'm going to start off with giving you some insights into our acquisition strategy, including our processes and priorities. I'll also share some graphics to help you visualize what we've been up to, and then I'll explain to you what our curation initiative is. Then I'll move on to discontinued titles. This is a bit different from curation, so I'll talk about what it is, why we do it, what our timelines are, and what your options are for purchase or replacement. I'll briefly walk you through how to submit a content request or feedback to us, and then I'll move on to highlights from 2023, where I'll share some metrics, and then I'll tell you about some of my favorite programs and series that we have added to your subscription over the last year. And then finally, what to look forward to in 2024, a sneak peek into what you can expect, both in terms of content and product enhancements. All right, let's get going. We'll start with our acquisition strategy. This is built on 4 core principles. First, licensing high-quality educational content, and the emphasis here is on educational. Second, we focus on different areas of the curriculum each year, both to maintain our areas of strength and invest in growth areas. Third, we're prioritizing newer copyrights, which means programs that were produced within the last 5 years. And fourth, and perhaps most importantly, we look to drive value. And we do this by monitoring metrics and making data-driven decisions. And I'm going to talk about each one of these in more detail over the next few slides. So we'll start with our acquisition process, licensing content. There are several factors that we consider when assessing content. And on this slide, I've shared the 4 that I think are the most important. First is curricular fit. We do research syllabi to make sure that the subject of the program is actually taught in the classroom. Second, we ask, does it fill a gap? Does the program offer something new, or do we already have a lot of programs on the subject? Third, does it advance the field? Is it an emerging topic, or does it cover a new perspective or new research that changes our understanding of the subject? And fourth, we look at usage as a predictor of value. So we look at how similar programs have performed to confirm that there's an audience for the subject. Our second principle is licensing across the curriculum. In 2023, we had a 2-pronged strategy focusing on core areas of strength as well as key growth areas. Our top subjects on Films on Demand are history, sociology, and psychology. And we added 143 programs to history, 90 to sociology, and 60 to psychology. In terms of growth areas, we focused on health, where we added 575 programs, music and dance, where we saw 136 new programs, and criminal justice and law, where we added 113 new programs. Our third principle is prioritizing newer copyrights. And as you can see from this graph, the bulk of the content that we added to Films on Demand last year was produced between 2019 and 2023. You'll notice that we also licensed programs outside of the stage range, and I'll talk about why on this slide. Here you can see a graph of the most watched programs on Films on Demand last year. When you look at the topics, there are no surprises. These are core, important topics. They also come from some of our top producers, so the production quality is very high. What is interesting is that the average copyright across these programs is 2007. That's 17 years ago. I like to show this slide to drive home the point that there is value in evergreen content. We're mindful of the data and we don't want to be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Which brings me to our fourth principle, driving value, which we do through curation. At Films on Demand, we're dedicated to providing you with a best-in-class experience, and part of that is making sure that you can find the right content quickly and easily. How do we do this? By focusing on relevance, usage, age, and feedback. And these four metrics feed into our decision-making both on the front end and the back end. By front end, I mean licensing content onto the platform initially. I talked about our criteria for assessing relevance and the role that usage plays. Feedback is also important. We listen to you, our customer, regarding what programs you want to see. On the back end, we review our content on an ongoing basis to identify older programs with low usage that can be retired from the collections. We're careful to target only programs with old copyrights that have been on the platform for at least 5 years and that have a demonstrated track record of low engagement. So we're not removing The House We Live In, even though it was produced in 2003, but a program on three-dimensional geography that has had 0 views, even though it's been on the platform since 2015, would be targeted. We're also mindful to align this weeding with the teaching breaks, just to be sure we're not causing any issues. Discontinuing titles. As I said before, curation is different from discontinuing titles, and the reason for discontinued titles is largely out of our hands. So I'll start by talking about what it is. Twice a year, at the end of June and at the end of December, we remove programs from our platform. We've selected these dates deliberately to fall during the vacations to minimize the disruption to you, your professors, and students. Why do we do this? There are 2 reasons. The first is that our license period has expired and the producer won't renew it, or it's too expensive to renew. The second reason is that the producer or distributor lost rights. Producers will sometimes include material from elsewhere in their programs. When they do this, they need to purchase a license for that material. These licenses are often expensive and last for only a few years. So when the license expires, the producer may choose to let the program go. When they do this, they no longer have educational rights and the program must be removed from circulation. So our timeline starts about 3 months before the purge date. And that's when we start working with our producers to make sure that we have accurate lists of titles, dates, and rights. 6 weeks before, you'll get your first email notification, which includes the list of titles that will be removed, as well as any purchase options that are available to you. During this time, we continue to update our list as we hear back from producers. And then 2 weeks before the purge, you'll receive your second notification, which has the final list of titles and purchase options. Anything that was added to that email from the first email will appear in red font, so it will be easy for you to identify those additions. So what are your options when this happens? Where we have rights, we'll sell you a perpetual license, which is the ideal scenario, and the license lasts as long as the file does. A second option is purchasing a DVD, which lasts as long as the physical media does. You can also purchase an a la carte license, which lasts for the duration of the license period up to a maximum of 3 years. I will caution you that this is definitely the kick the can down the road option, because you won't be able to renew that license once it expires. And there's also no mechanism for notifying you when that expiry date is coming up. Your fourth option is to find an alternative program, and we're happy to help you with that. So how do you submit a content request? If you have a content request, we do ask that you submit this via email to your sales rep. If you're looking for a replacement for a program that's being discontinued, please let us know the name of the program you're looking for a replacement for, as well as the class it's being used in. Ideally, it would be helpful to include a description of the class and learning objectives so we can match up an alternative program for you. If you're requesting a new program that you'd like added to the platform, please let us know the name of the program and send us a link so we know we're looking at the right one. It's also valuable for us to know what class it's going to be used in and how many students there are in that class. Right, so now let's turn to our content highlights for 2023. We added 1,657 programs to the Master Academic Collection. We did also add 886 programs to our premium collections. And I'm quickly going to skip to this slide so you can see what they are. These collections are available for purchase to augment your Master Academic Collection, which is the core collection. Our CTE, or Career and Technical Education Collection, includes subject packages that support the university's Career Center as well as your Health or Guidance Center. We also have several collections that you can see on the screen now that support instruction across health sciences, and our World Cinema collection is designed for film studies instruction. If you're interested in adding any of these, please speak to your sales rep. I'm going to go back to this screen to continue talking about the Master Academic Collection. So we added content across 24 out of our 25 core subjects, with an average copyright across this new content of 2018. The content amounts to 51,269 minutes or 855 hours of new content. The average cost of producing a minute of programming is between $800 and $1,000. And at the low end, calculating out 800 by 855, you get over $41 million worth of content in your subscription just last year. So over the next few slides, I'm going to tell you about some of my favorite programs and series that were added to your subscriptions. And we'll start with PBS. We have lots of new titles from PBS this year, including 20 Days in Mariupol, which was nominated for an Oscar last Tuesday. This frontline documentary was already an award winner. It follows the story of a group of Ukrainian journalists trapped in Mariupol during Russia's siege of the city as they struggle to continue documenting the war. The film is an excellent pick for classes in journalism or area studies. Another great pick, this time for sociology classes, is The Big Payback. This program is set in Evanston, Illinois, and follows the story of the passage of the first tax-funded reparations bill in U.S. history for Black Americans. Shifting gears, Age of Easy Money explores the role of the Federal Reserve's policies in the current economic uncertainty. It follows financial policy from the Great Recession to the rise of inflation and ongoing financial instability. This program would fit nicely in macroeconomics classes. Your Brain is a two-part series from Nova. It's a fascinating exploration of the latest research on how your brain shapes your perception of reality, what your subconscious is, and how it functions. The series is hosted by Harvard and Oxford-educated neuroscientist Heather Berlin, and I recommend it for classes on psychology, neuropsychology, intro to psychology, and biological psychology. Finally, we added the latest season of Now Hear This with Scott Yu. The episodes in season 4 feature how to play and dance a tango, the relationship between mental health and creativity through the work of Robert Schumann, Andy Akio's work combining Caribbean, Asian, and jazz influences, and Isaac Albanese's portraits of Spain. This is a great series to support classes on music history and classical music, and all the programs on this slide were produced in 2023. We also added some exciting history titles from A&E. Man vs. History is a 2021 series on American history that looks to uncover the truth behind some of the mysteries and legends of American history. Episodes include Billy the Kid, the infamous duel between Hamilton and Burr, Houdini, and others. JFK Declassified is a series that aims to piece together the whole story of JFK's assassination from recently declassified government documents. It's a compelling 6-part series from 2017 that could be used in classes that cover US history in the 60s. Hitler's Secret Tunnels is a program from 2019 based on recently discovered map of the vast network of tunnels that Hitler built across Europe. This map may hold the key to uncovering some of the Nazis' top secret plans during World War II. It's an instructive program for classes on European history, especially those that cover World War II. And finally, let's go to the moon. This 2019 documentary unearths lost tapes of the Apollo 11 astronauts and explores the dangers and challenges of their moon mission. From BBC, we have some great programs in history, criminal justice, political science, and more. House of Saud is a revealing series from 2018 that looks at Mohammed bin Salman's pledge to tackle corruption and extremism and bring about social reform in his country. The series would fit area studies classes focused on the Middle East. It would also be good for political science and history classes. Another favorite of mine, is The Persians. This is a beautifully shot series that travels around Iran to explore the country's rich and complex 3,000-year history. It's another great option for area studies and history classes. Vaccine Wars was produced in 2019, and it's a somewhat prescient documentary that examines vaccine hesitancy and the scientific evidence of vaccines pre-COVID. Any class on public health should consider this program. Life and Death Row works for classes covering criminal law, especially those focusing on capital punishment, a topic that has been in the news again recently. This 3rd season is set in Arkansas, where 8 inmates are scheduled to be put to death within a short period of time to use up the state's supply of lethal injection. And finally, I wanted to highlight the Cult of Conspiracy, QAnon, which is a 2021 documentary that explores one of the most prominent conspiracies of modern times. This program would fit classes on American government, as well as sociology classes that focus on collective behavior. We also recently renewed our agreement with TED, and through this we added 25 new TED Ed videos in addition to the TED Talks that we've had in the past. TED Ed videos are short, award-winning animated lessons that provide an introduction to a topic. The goal is to spark curiosity and further exploration. On this slide, I highlighted 2 examples of TED Ed videos. On the top left, you have What is Schizophrenia from 2020, which looks at the symptoms, causes, and treatments for the disease. And on the bottom left, 5 tips to improve your critical thinking from 2016. We also added 25 new TED Talks, which we selected from their best of list. And I've chosen 2 here on this slide that I think are representative of the range and relevance of what we've added. The first is an interview with the co-founders of BioNTech and their pioneering mRNA research that led to the development of the first COVID vaccine. Again, a great resources for epidemiology and public health classes. In the second program, we have reproductive rights attorney Catherine Colbert talking about the end of Roe versus Wade, a great program for classes on reproductive law and constitutional law. On this slide, I have some programs that are only available on Films on Demand. They come from smaller independent producers, so they may have flown under the radar for you, but I definitely think that they're worth checking out. The first is Tech Effect, a 2021 production from Broken Arrow Media. This is a 6-part series that examines the potential for cutting-edge technology to improve our lives. From industry to robotics to home automation, the series is incredibly well produced and thought-provoking. Rock Legends is another great series that looks at the major figures in rock history. Using interviews, archives, and performances, the series looks not only at these artists' innovations in music, but also at their impact on popular culture. We have 2 seasons of rock legends, and both would work well in music history classes. Mastering the Art of Information Literacy was produced exclusively for us from Motion Masters. It's an update of our very popular series on the topic from 2017. This 2023 version brings in all the latest research and best practices to help students improve their media literacy skills, including how to navigate AI-generated content. And the last program on the slide from Ivanhoe Broadcast News is part of the series called Medical Breakthroughs. Each program in the series offers a quick entry point into the very latest groundbreaking research in healthcare and medical innovation. The program up on your screen on using AI to detect breast cancer was produced in 2023 and is one of 6 programs about the uses of AI in medicine. And speaking of AI, I thought I'd end with a slide that showcases what else we've added on this very hot topic. Note that this is not an exhaustive list, and I focused on the newest programs we have all produced in 2023. First up is AI Art, a news hour program that examines the debates around whether AI can produce art. The second program is called Will ChatGPT Do More Harm Than Good? And it's a debate about the effects of ChatGPT. Proponents argue that it will streamline valuable functions, freeing up humans to focus on higher level tasks, while detractors focus on threats to people's privacy, disinformation, and job loss. Another news hour production features Bruce Schneier, a Harvard fellow, discussing the potential of AI to change how we gather information, how we communicate, how we work, and how this can affect governance and the future of democracy. The program is called A Hacker's Mind. And lastly, Computers versus Crime explores the uses of AI in the criminal justice system, including hidden biases, privacy risks, and the design flaws of this controversial technology. And finally, our 2024 roadmap, what you can look forward to over this next year. So on the content side, we'll be continuing with curation and our focus on newer copyrights. In terms of subject, we're targeting growth areas in technology, communication, engineering, career development, biological sciences, and education. On the product side, we'll be you can look forward to an updated Films on Demand app. We're also upgrading our privacy and security settings. We'll be adding more authentication options and improving accessibility with WCAG 2.2. And finally, we also have plans to update our design. So I think there are a lot of reasons to be excited about Films on Demand. Thank you so much for joining us today.